It's gonna be my second monitor, and that's probably the best pun you're gonna get in this video. Hey guys, today we're talking about Lipo, whatever you want to name it, portable monitor. It's, as I mentioned prior to the intro of this video, it's the second portable monitor that I've actually got, and this one is 15.6 ISP 1080p portable monitor, which you can see in the background right now in here working. Let me change that actually to something more cheery than just black background. So inside the box you're gonna find obviously the monitor itself, which is enclosed in a nice rigid aluminum frame. It's really nice, quite kind of stylish, and I'm actually liking it. And now on one side you'll find connectivity options, which is mini HDMI, but don't worry, the cable is included if you don't have a mini HDMI, and obviously USB Type-C, one for power and one for video input. So if your computer or laptop has USB Type-C output, you'll be able to connect directly with a single wire. And this is a perfect opportunity to actually use one of these to declutter your desk space and, well, increase the productivity on the go. Now on the other side, you'll have another USB Type-C pass-through, so you can recover that USB Type-C socket for whatever devices you want, and on-screen display controls with this funny little rocker. I'm not a huge fan of these because they're a little bit fiddly, but in all fairness, I really fell in love with touch on-screen display settings like on the Banggood unit from that video. But anyway, back to this display. Now, I've mentioned this is ISP panel, it's 15.6 inch and it's 1080p. Now, coming from a 4K monitor of a similar size, I can tell you that 1080p is actually not a bad thing, because I ended up using my 4K display with different scaling anyway, so I wasn't really using that resolution, and well, 4K is harder to drive anyway. As it stands for form factor, the 1080p and the 15.6 inch is perfectly fine. Now let's talk about brightness and color reproduction, because it's quite important. Now, brightness is a big plus because it's actually quite brighter than my laptop that I'm using, and this is important especially if you're gonna take your portable display with you to a less than optimal environment like bright office or coffee shop, and you want to, deploy second screen and be extra posh. I did that in the past, I'm guilty. Now colors, actually I had a less problem setting the colors up on this display than on my Banggood one. However, there's a couple of problems. For the most part, I would recommend you just to go with standard settings and don't use HDR. HDR oversaturates everything and it does bring out the black, but you're gonna lose a lot of details, and you can see that on the video. Now the standard modes work perfectly fine, but there is another usage for HDR. I've actually enjoyed that using Visual Code Studio for programming. When I flip the screen into a vertical position, well, and it made things look quite sharp, especially in the bright environment. So I've been taking this monitor to work for about a week, because when I'm working on some code, I don't usually sit in a desk, I sit next to the robots that I'm supposed to troubleshoot, and the desk is usually small, and this is the biggest benefit of portable monitors. It will save you a tons of space. I mean, like, I'm sporting this big 32-inch 4K monitor for my daily tasks, but if I ever gonna move to a smaller desk, portable monitors are a great way to go. And this monitor isn't an exception. It's quite light, it's barely bigger than my laptop and easily fits into a bag, which means you'll be able to take it with you wherever you want, and thanks to USB Type-C connectivity, it only requires a single cable, which is also included. There's one thing we should really talk about, which is sound. There are two speakers on each side of the monitor, and when you're using it in a landscape mode, obviously they're gonna be not obstructed. But it's not to say that the sound is good. It sounds like your average laptop, and it's due to portability. Now, if you do want to get a decent sound of it, there is included 3.5mm jack for sound input, and if you really want to bring your sound game, well, there's a Jabra headset in here, video there, consider that. One of the things that I really like about these portable monitors is that you can use them everywhere. In theory, you can take a, gaming console and take it and play some games. So what it's like for gaming? Well, I actually tested both USB Type-C with my computer and Cyberpunk 2077. And, well, it's 1080p 60 frames per second, and my main computer is decent enough to give me those frames. And the same was with the console, even though I was using HDMI instead. Granted, I had to power the monitor using a spare USB Type-C connector, but the output was again 1080p and 60 frames per second, and well, let's just say my PS4 was delivering those 60 frames. Overall, I've not noticed any input lag, so if you enjoy some games, you can, well, jump on them and start playing, and I would recommend the actual game preset, which is rare on monitors to have presets actually that work for gaming purposes. In a day-to-day life, there's a couple of things that I would strongly recommend. Even though the protective cover is quite nice and folds into a stand, I would suggest that you're gonna get a different stand so you could get more comfortable and reposition the monitor the way you want, especially if you're going to use a monitor as a pop-up display for coding in portrait orientation, because in that way you probably want to lift the monitor from the ground to either hide the cables or prevent the edge of the monitor hitting that rocker and displaying that on-screen display. So I'm going to list a couple of accessories and cables that I would strongly recommend you get with this monitor, especially that the long braided cables are best. Otherwise, it's quite easy to snag them and, well, it's a recipe for disaster. So obviously, if you're interested, in the description of this video, you're gonna find a link to this. Now on Amazon, it's about $220. Now you can get yourself a discount code if you're going to go through Tiktech website. So do check out that link if you're interested in beating the Amazon price. As for now, guys, if you want to know what's gonna happen next, then, well, I do not have a posting schedule, and the best way to catch up with me is to follow me on any given social media. You know how YouTube works and how to use the tools to your advantage. So, hey, why not to do so? As for now, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.